Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Adam Kownacki, who's coming off 3 consecutive losses, is going to be fighting on a Matchroom card on June the 24th. He will be facing American journeyman Joe Cusumano. So Kownacki coming off 3 losses on the bounce, 2 to Robert Helenius, and then last time out against Ali Erendemirezhian. So Kownacki, who's been a stalwart of the PBC heavyweight stable, but that is no more. So either he was let go or his contract ran out and wasn't renewed, but now he is on a different platform. So fighting on a Matchroom card, which will be on DAZN, June 24th. So we'll quickly go through the quotes from the press release that came out, and then a few thoughts, because one, this is something different for Kownacki, but could have been so different if he'd have done something a few years ago. But also, why is Matchroom taking a chance on Kownacki, who I think a lot of people will say he's a spent force, but there is a reason for it, I believe. So getting to the press release, so this has come out from Matchroom, so we'll go straight to the quotes. So Kownacki says, "I'm excited to be back at Madison Square Garden. MSG is where I had my first success as a boxer, winning the New York Golden Gloves, and my 5th pro fight where I came out victorious and started my run to become a top 5 heavyweight." Well, I have to jump in there. Kownacki was never a top 5 heavyweight. Ever. Sure, he might have been ranked in some sanctioning bodies, but he was not in the top 5. Arguably, you could say maybe he was around the edge of the top 10 at one point, based off the run of victories: Kaladze, Spilka, Washington, Charles Martin, Areola. But apart from that, he was not a top 5 heavyweight. That's garbage. Anyway, so he continues, and this doesn't quite make sense. Whoever edited this didn't do a great job. MSG will once again be the starting point of something special for me as I resurrect my career. You've got Cusumano saying, "We're excited for this opportunity to fight the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. Adam is a tough fighter, but I'm preparing for war on June 24. So Joe Cusumano, that name may ring a bell for some. He was basically battered by Daniel Dubois and taken out in a few rounds, and that was part of Daniel Dubois' rebuild. So actually, in terms of the matchmaking, it's kind of interesting because Cusumano, a little bit taller than Kownacki, a little bit longer than Kownacki, he can punch. And one thing that's become evident in more recent fights is that Adam Kownacki's durability has betrayed him, and Cusumano can punch a bit. So there is scope that Cusumano could actually do something in this fight. But based off the fight being made as effectively a comeback, and even Kownacki has almost couched it like that, saying this is the first fight to resurrect his career. In some regards, it's, there's a little bit of risk, but at the same time, it's okay matchmaking for what he needs right now, which is a win. So he might have a few hairy moments in the fight, but he should win this one if he's got anything left. But after 3 losses on the bounce and no longer with PBC, you have to ask the question, why would Matchroom bring him in for this card? They haven't put anything out that they've signed him on a long-term basis, but obviously with it being in New York and Adam Kownacki being a relatively popular fighter in recent years, you have to think about the ticket sales, and that counts. Matchroom for the US shows is clearly wanting to get some fighters who have got some pull and appeal for fans. Part of the Belanga signing is he brings in fans. And I think with Kownacki, who's been at Barclays either as a co-main event or headlining for a decent portion of the last 3 or 4 years, he sells tickets. That is something that is attractive to Matchroom, who wants to make these shows make sense financially in the United States, especially if they're going to have Belanga on that card, and then you've got Kownacki. You probably go, okay, you're going to sell quite a few tickets. And Kownacki's got a decent-sized fan base in New York. I'm sure they're going to turn up and turn out for him, and that's going to be quite a raucous sort of crowd. If he can't beat Cusumano, he probably should retire. Cusumano is okay, like I say, he's a little bit longer and taller. He can punch a bit, but he is a bit chinny as well. And Adam Kownacki, despite more recently his chin obviously being cracked and having 3 losses on the bounce, he can still punch. And we've seen that through his career. So if he can't win it, then he probably should retire. And he basically said after his last fight against Ali Demirjian, who won that fight pretty comfortably in the end, that he was on the verge of retirement, but then changed his mind and effectively said he couldn't go out like that. And he said he wanted at least one more fight. And then it sort of seemed to morph over time that actually he wanted to really put everything into his career, to make a comeback, see what he could do, etc. But you sort of hark back to 2019, and basically this time 4 years ago, and it really is, basically almost to the day, you had a situation with Jarrell Big Pharmacy Miller failing all those tests, dropping out of that fight with Anthony Joshua, and Adam Kownacki was a name that was in the mix. And Kownacki turned around and told everyone he didn't need it, he had his own thing going on, and that own thing going on eventually was a fight with Chris Arreola. But since then, it's been all downhill. So if he had have taken that fight, which was there potentially for him to fight, it could have all been different in terms of maybe he could have been Andy Ruiz Jr. He could have had millions of dollars in his pocket. As it is, he stepped over $100 bill to pick up 25 cents. And you have to kind of go, that's terrible management. Clearly, he would have been advised by Al Heyman and others, don't take that fight. We've got plans for you. We're guiding you to a heavyweight world title, etc. Bloody, bloody, blah. And it's backfired immensely. And I imagine Kownacki may have a little bit, even though I haven't seen this in anything he said publicly, he might have a little bit of, resentment about that situation and how everything's played out since. Sometimes in boxing, you lose, and obviously that's what occurred with those 3 different losses on the bounce. But just imagine, had he taken that fight, even if he'd lost it against Joshua, he could have got $5, $6, $7 million. I think Andy Ruiz Jr. negotiated for about, $5 or $6 million, and we know he became a unified heavyweight champion and got a rematch where he got a lucrative payday, and then subsequently has had a couple of fights on pay-per-view. You've had Adam Kownacki basically, going down the tube since 2019. So, yeah, and now there's questions about his durability, that he is past his best, that all those hard fights have taken something out of him, and I think it has. But he thinks that he's got something left to offer. They'll throw Cusumano against him on June 24, and I guess we'll see what happens. But Adam Kownacki, what could have been, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but he went his own way, and it backfired immensely. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.